Hey everybody, Jake here from Bearded Gear, and it is late at night. I've been doing quite a few videos at this point, but I really want to talk first impressions on this bad boy. This, if you saw my unboxing, you'll already be aware, is the Miller Knife Works Meleia. Meleia. I still didn't ask him how to say that. I should have done that. I think it's Meleia. It's his wife's name. And I know she's going to watch this with him. Sorry if I said your name wrong. This is a chef's knife from Miller Knife Works. And I've been doing a fair bit of cutting with it already. So I need to do my first impressions before it gets any later. And then I'll be doing my full review. And in the full review, I'll be showing it doing a bunch of food prep. I'll make a point in that video to show it going through its paces. But I've done a fair bit with it already. And I've just been really impressed at the difference that it's made so far already, having this knife in the kitchen with me. So this is in Nitro-V blade steel. It's got a 8.5 or 8.25 inch blade. I didn't grab the paper that he made me. I should have done that before I hit record. I'll have that with me for the full review. But yeah, it's about 8.25, I think, of blade length. Overall length, I believe, was right at 13 inches. And just a really, really cool knife for the kitchen. This thing, first and foremost, this grind is what has impressed me the most. I've used kitchen knives before that are really thin, right? This is a very thin blade stock. It's ground very thin with this nice tall flat down here to the edge. The edge that's on it is remarkably sharp. We'll talk about that as well. But this kind of fuller type looking thing up here, this hollow grind above the flat grind, is what's called a diamond grind. And I've talked to CJ about it quite a bit because it's one of the things that he does that I don't see that many other knife makers doing chef's knives doing. But the way that it works, and it's on both sides, by the way, it's on that side and that side. It's essentially for food release. And this flat grind for the main bevel is already so tall and gets so thin that extending it further up toward the spine I don't think really would provide much of an advantage. And instead, getting this hollow above it, it's just uncanny so far how well it's worked. I use kitchen knives in my left hand because I'm left-handed for a number of things in life, including writing, shooting, a few things. Pocket knives, for whatever reason, I use in my right hand predominantly. But just over the past couple of days, I've done quite a bit with this. Before I left on my glamping trip, I cooked one meal with it where I chopped some broccoli, I think some zucchini, a couple of potatoes, and I had cut an apple for my daughter earlier in that day. And then since I've gotten back from my glamping trip, I've done, let's see, more broccoli, asparagus, a big sweet potato, really big sweet potato, which is very dense, 2 more apples, and that might be it. I don't know, but the sweet potato is the thing that I think is most worth talking about so far, and specifically in regards to this diamond grind. Because typically, when I cut a sweet potato, for the last few months, I've been using my Spyderco chef's knife that I got at their factory seconds sale, and it's done pretty well for me. I've liked that knife, and I'm not going to throw that knife in the garbage now that I have this, but this is noticeably better. First of all, in the way that it bites in when I'm cutting into something, whether it's soft or medium density or pretty hard density like a sweet potato, which is like a root vegetable, right? I cut that sweet potato into round slices, which on any other knife that I've used to cut a sweet potato like that has just stuck to the knife, and then I have to after each cut I'm pushing the food off of it to then start making my next cut. Otherwise, when I make the next cut, then that other wheel shaped piece is coming up too high, and then it's flopping all over the place, and some of it's falling off the cutting board. With this, I just found with each and every cut it released so well because of that diamond grind, and the fact that it glides through stuff like that as well the thin profile of this, the edge that's on it, it just, it's hard to quantify in words the difference that it really makes. And in terms of like percentages, right, compared to that Spyderco chef's knife that I have, this may only be like 20% better at slicing through things. But like, that feels so exciting when you get to a certain like tier of performance to find something that's even better. I don't know, it just, this geometry, the intelligence of this grind with the diamond grind, the shape and the way that the whole thing has constant belly and curve. I have found that rocking it through things just works incredibly well. Like, I cut the asparagus that I cut into pretty small little like chunks because I was making a stir fry with it, right? And when I did that, you can kind of rest the tip on the cutting board, and because the whole thing is a curve, you can just rock your way back, chopping through. It's I don't know, it seems so apparent to me after using this knife, just the little bit that I have so far, that CJ over at Miller Knife Works has put a lot of thought and attention into the actual design. Like, when I look at this knife, before having used it, I thought that this knife was gorgeous, right? And I could see that there was something different going on about it. I could see that it had some kind of unique features compared to other kitchen knives that I had seen, but it wasn't really clicking for me how much difference they'd make in actual application, right? And also, like, not really knowing what I was looking for. Like, I didn't know whether I would prefer having constant curve instead of having a flat section, or whether I'd actually prefer having this hollow up here, the diamond grind for food release, or whether it was just gimmicky. I didn't know how this handle would actually feel in hand. I didn't know what this length would actually feel like in use. It was kind of unexplored territory for me, and it is so good. I'm genuinely loving it. It's just so thin. It's a laser beam. I can literally flex the whole thing. See if I can show you that. I can flex the knife. It's so thin. The Nitro-V so far, I mean, I haven't done enough that I should have gone through this edge, but it is still every bit as sticky sharp as it was when I pulled it out of this pouch the first time. I've also been very delicate with this knife so far. He sent it to me in this pouch thing, right? And every time that I've used it, I've hand washed it immediately, hand dried it, and put it back in the pouch, because I just want to keep this thing pristine. I want to cherish it. And he also, the deal was, maybe this will illustrate as well how much I'm liking this so far. The deal was, he wanted to send this to me to check out, and there was no obligation. If I didn't feel like I wanted to keep it, I could just send it back to him, and he would appreciate that I took the time to review it. Everything would be cool. Or he said I could purchase it from him if I decided to do so. I've already figured it out with him that I'm keeping this knife. This is going to be my knife forever. I can't send this back to him. It is so good, and it's made me want to like cook more. I already really enjoy cooking. I like cooking in general. I grew up, I was that kid who watched a lot of Food Network and was overweight. And I find I get into a nice groove in the kitchen. It's kind of like sharpening. When I'm sharpening a knife, I can get into this like rhythm where I'm just doing the task, and it helps me to kind of separate from everything else that life holds for a brief time. And cooking can be that way. I just get into a zone where I'm enjoying it, and it's a creative space, and it's fun. And this like reinvigorates my desire to be in the kitchen and to be working with food. I'm not saying I'm gonna like go to culinary school now or anything, but I just really like it as just a home cook who's haphazardly trying things. This is exciting, and it feels so nice. And I don't know, it's interesting too, because I have this collection of really nice folding pocket knives, right? And even some very nice like outdoorsy fixed blades. And to me, it's so easy to spend a lot of money on knives, but for some reason I haven't justified to myself the idea of spending a lot of money on a nice kitchen knife. And this is a custom, very nice kitchen knife. And it's not exactly cheap. I do think now, after experiencing how much quality there is in this, that it's not very expensive either in terms of the value that you're getting out of it. But I don't know, it's one of those things where, like, now, I don't know, I want to encourage others if they like cooking at all, or spend, even if they just don't like cooking, but they do it anyways, like, maybe you will like it more if you treat yourself to something like this that is going to enhance it as much as this has for me. It's just so, it makes such a difference to use it in the kitchen. I feel like I'm saying that a lot. But yeah, my first impressions on this knife are genuinely that it's fantastic so far. I grin at the opportunity to get back in the kitchen and use it more. And so yeah, for the next week or so, I'm going to continue using it in the kitchen a lot. I'll be making excuses to cook at home even more, and just putting it through its paces and seeing what it's made of even more than I already have. And it's so impressive. Yeah, so down below you'll find a link to Miller Knife Works. I'll link to his Instagram where you can find him. Shoot him a message if you're interested in one of these. He does also make non-kitchen knives. I've seen that he makes some pretty impressive kind of outdoorsy fixed blades. And CJ's a really cool guy. I'm confident that if you talk to him, you'll like him, because I definitely do. We talk quite a bit now. And it's cool too, because I don't know, sometimes I feel like the world of kitchen knives is pretty different from the world of like folding knives or tactical knives, or like whatever you want to call it, the world of knives that I typically dwell in. And there's definitely some overlap, but I find a lot of the guys that seem to be like kitchen knife makers only really make kitchen knives. And then there's a lot of people who have like very expensive kitchen knives but don't bother at all with folders like I do. And then there's people like me for a long time who have a ton of nice folders and haven't spent any money on a kitchen knife, because it's just like, that'll cut out of my folder budget, right? But what I'm getting at is, I think it's really cool that CJ is also into the things that I'm into. He's a knife nerd and a knife nut like I am, and probably you are if you're watching this on my channel. He's chasing folders like the rest of us, Spyderco Sprints and exclusives and TRM knives, and like, he's in the thick of it, like, with us in the hobby, which I think is cool that somebody like that is making things like this. It's just impressive to me. And this is a phenomenally well-made knife. It's made a big difference for me so far. And yeah, first impressions wise, I can't speak highly enough of it. And I hope this doesn't sound like I'm just tooting his horn because I like the guy either. This has genuinely made a difference for me in my daily life. Having this knife around, yeah, it makes a difference. It makes me happier to go in the kitchen and to cook, which is something I do virtually every day. And that seems totally worth it to me. I believe for a build like this, that he typically charges around $350. I imagine people are going to be curious about that. But he's capable of making quite a few different knives as well. I've seen him working on some other stuff. So yeah, if there's a build that you have in mind, I would definitely reach out to him. Especially, I think he's going to be moving soon, and so he's not going to be having time to build knives for like a couple of months while he gets settled into the new place. So maybe if you catch him sooner rather than later, then he can make you something before he goes. It might already be too late. I don't want to promise anything for him that I can't. But yeah, really great guy. Phenomenal knife so far. And yeah, when we get to the full review, I'll do some B-roll shots of it as well, so I can show off this handle even more. This micarta is phenomenal, especially with these liners. The whole thing is just gorgeous. Yeah, loving it. Really, really, really loving this knife so far. So thanks for checking it out with me, guys. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one.